You're not going to believe what just surfaced in a Los Angeles courtroom. We're talking about secrets so explosive, so unthinkable, that even Hollywood insiders are speechless. What if I told you that one of the biggest movie stars in the world might be hiding a family secret that connects him directly to the king of rock and roll himself? And what if I told you this same legal battle involves allegations so disturbing about Elvis Presley's widow that lawyers are calling it shameful and crossing every ethical line? Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about John Travolta, the Presley family, and the dark secrets buried beneath Hollywood's glittering surface. Picture this. It's December 2024, and a 65-page legal document lands in Los Angeles Superior Court like a bomb. Inside these pages are claims that would make even the most seasoned tabloid journalists' jaw drop. We're talking about alleged egg donations, secret family connections, accusations of incest, drug abuse, financial manipulation, and a conspiracy of silence involving some of the most famous families in entertainment history. The names involved read like a who's who of Hollywood royalty: John Travolta, Riley Keough, Priscilla Presley, and figures whose personal lives have suddenly become courtroom fodder. But here's where it gets really crazy. These aren't just random accusations thrown around by attention seekers. These are detailed allegations made under oath, filed by former business partners of Priscilla Presley herself, people who claim they were on the inside, who saw everything, and who are now willing to burn it all down. So what exactly are we dealing with here? Let's start with the bombshell that has everyone talking. The claim that Riley Keough, yes, Elvis Presley's granddaughter, the talented actress you've seen in everything from Mad Max to Daisy Jones and The Six, is allegedly the biological mother of John Travolta's youngest son, Benjamin. Now, before you think this is just another wild conspiracy theory, understand that this allegation comes with receipts. We're talking about court documents that include photographs, text messages, and even a handwritten note allegedly outlining the entire arrangement. According to the lawsuit filed by Brigitte Kruse and Kevin Fialko, two former business associates of Priscilla Presley, this wasn't just some casual agreement. This was allegedly a carefully orchestrated deal that took place around 2010, when the Travolta and Presley families were spending time together in Hawaii. Here's how the story allegedly unfolds, according to these explosive court filings. John Travolta and his late wife Kelly Preston, who tragically passed away in 2020 after a battle with breast cancer, desperately wanted another child. They already had 2 children at the time, their daughter Ella Blue, and sadly, they had recently lost their eldest son Jet in 2009 in a devastating tragedy during a family vacation in the Bahamas. The pain of losing a child is unimaginable, and according to these allegations, Travolta and Preston were determined to expand their family. But there was a problem. Preston allegedly couldn't carry a child using her own eggs. This is where things take an absolutely shocking turn. According to the lawsuit, which cites information allegedly provided by Michael Lockwood, Lisa Marie Presley's ex-husband, there were initial discussions about using Lisa Marie's eggs for the pregnancy. Lisa Marie Presley, if you remember, was Elvis's only daughter, a singer-songwriter in her own right, and Riley Keough's mother. She passed away suddenly in January 2023, and her death sparked a massive legal battle over her estate that we'll get to in a moment. But back in 2010, she was in her early 40s, and allegedly, there were conversations about her potentially donating eggs to help Kelly Preston carry a baby for John Travolta. This alone is already a story that would make headlines. But here's where the alleged deal completely fell apart and took an even more bizarre turn. The lawsuit claims that Travolta ultimately rejected the idea of using Lisa Marie's eggs, and the reason given is absolutely stunning. According to the court documents, Travolta allegedly said he did not want eggs with heroin on them. This is an apparent reference to Lisa Marie's well-documented struggles with addiction. Lisa Marie had been open in interviews about her battles with substance abuse, particularly following the death of her father Elvis when she was just 9 years old, and later after the death of her own son Benjamin Keough, not to be confused with Riley Keough, who tragically died by suicide in 2020. The lawsuit alleges that because of these concerns about Lisa Marie's drug use, the Travolta family looked elsewhere. And that's when Riley Keough allegedly entered the picture. Riley Keough would have been in her early 20s in 2010, young, healthy, and importantly, she's part of the Presley bloodline. According to Kruse and Fialko's lawsuit, a deal was allegedly struck. Riley would donate her eggs, Kelly Preston would carry the baby, and John Travolta would be the biological father. In exchange for this incredibly personal and medically invasive procedure, Riley was allegedly given an old Jaguar car and paid somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. Let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about a transaction that, if true, would mean that Benjamin Travolta, who is now a teenager, is not just John Travolta's son, but also biologically the great-grandson of Elvis Presley himself. The king of rock and roll's genetic legacy would be living on through a child being raised by Danny Zuko from Grease and Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction. You literally cannot make this stuff up. But wait, there's more, so much more. The lawsuit doesn't just make this one shocking claim and leave it there. It provides what it alleges is evidence. There's supposedly a photograph showing Riley Keough holding baby Benjamin at John Travolta's home in Maine. There are text message exchanges that allegedly refer to Benjamin as Priscilla Presley's beautiful great-grandson. And perhaps most damning of all, there's a handwritten note on hotel stationery that the plaintiffs claim outlines the entire arrangement. This note, which has been submitted as evidence in the court case, allegedly details the terms of the egg donation deal. Now, we need to be crystal clear here. These are allegations made in a lawsuit. John Travolta has not confirmed any of this. Riley Keough has not confirmed any of this. In fact, Priscilla Presley's attorney has called these claims outrageous, shameful, and accused the plaintiffs of crossing ethical lines to pressure Priscilla into backing down from her own legal claims against them. But here's what makes this story so complicated and why it has Hollywood insiders and legal experts absolutely riveted. This isn't happening in isolation. This egg donation claim is just one explosive allegation in a much larger, much messier legal war between Priscilla Presley and her former business partners. To understand why these claims are coming out now, we need to understand the bigger picture of what's been happening with the Presley family over the past 2 years. It's a story of death, inheritance, betrayal, and allegations of elder abuse, financial manipulation, and family dysfunction that reads like a twisted Hollywood thriller. Let's rewind to January 2023. Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's only child and the sole heir to his estate, suddenly died at the age of 54 after suffering cardiac arrest at her home in Calabasas, California. Her death shocked the world and devastated her family. She left behind her mother Priscilla, her daughter Riley Keough, and her younger twin daughters from her marriage to Michael Lockwood. But Lisa Marie also left behind something else: a will and a family trust that would become the center of a vicious legal battle. According to Lisa Marie's will, she had removed her mother Priscilla and her former business manager Barry Siegel as trustees of her estate and instead named her daughter Riley and her late son Benjamin, who had died 3 years earlier, as the sole beneficiaries and trustees. This meant that Priscilla, the woman who had been married to Elvis Presley and had spent decades managing various aspects of the Presley legacy and business empire, was essentially cut out. Priscilla challenged the validity of this will, claiming that the amendment removing her as trustee was suspicious, that Lisa Marie's signature might have been forged, and that she was never properly notified of the change as required by law. This kicked off a very public legal battle between grandmother and granddaughter, between Priscilla and Riley, over control of Lisa Marie's estate and, by extension, over who would control significant aspects of the Elvis Presley legacy, including Graceland, Elvis's iconic Memphis mansion. The estate was estimated to be worth millions, and the stakes could not have been higher. But here's where Brigitte Kruse and Kevin Fialko come into the story. Kruse and Fialko claim they were hired as business partners and advisors to Priscilla Presley, and that they played a crucial role in mediating the dispute between Priscilla and Riley. According to their account, they worked tirelessly behind the scenes to broker a settlement that would satisfy everyone and keep the Presley family together during an incredibly difficult time. And allegedly, they succeeded. By June 2023, Priscilla and Riley reached a settlement. Under the terms of this agreement, Riley would maintain control of Lisa Marie's estate and become the sole trustee. But Priscilla would receive $1.4 million in settlement and legal fees, plus an additional $100,000 per year to serve as a special advisor to the estate. Priscilla would also have access to the family mausoleum at Graceland, where Lisa Marie and Benjamin are buried alongside Elvis and other Presley family members. On the surface, this looked like a resolution. The Presley women had made peace, or at least reached a truce. But according to Kruse and Fialko, their work wasn't done. They claim they also negotiated a separate settlement for Priscilla's son, Navarone Garcia. And this is where the story takes another dark turn, and where the allegations of incest come into play. Navarone Garcia is Priscilla's son from her long-term relationship with Marco Garibaldi after her divorce from Elvis. He's a musician, the frontman of the band Them Guns, and he's Lisa Marie Presley's half-brother. When Lisa Marie died and left her estate to her children, cutting out her mother, she also by extension cut out her half-brother Navarone. But according to the lawsuit filed by Kruse and Fialko, Navarone wanted his cut. The allegations in this lawsuit about Navarone and his relationship with Priscilla are stomach-turning. Kruse and Fialko claim in their court filings that for years, Priscilla lived off of her daughter Lisa Marie, funneling money from her trust and using it to fund Navarone's lifestyle and drug addiction. They go even further, making a claim that has shocked everyone who's read these documents. Priscilla's love for Navarone was, and always has been, incestuous. Let me be absolutely clear. This is an allegation made in a lawsuit. It has not been proven in court. Priscilla's attorneys have vehemently denied these claims and have called them defamatory and an attempt at intimidation. But the fact that these words are in a legal document filed in a California court has sent shockwaves through Hollywood. According to Kruse and Fialko's account, after Lisa Marie's death, Navarone allegedly demanded that they negotiate a multi-million-dollar settlement on his behalf from Lisa Marie's estate. The lawsuit claims that Kruse and Fialko advised him there was no guarantee he would receive anything, particularly given what they describe as his drug use. According to these allegations, Lisa Marie had made it clear in her estate planning that no one using drugs would be entitled to any inheritance, a heartbreaking stipulation that may have been informed by her own struggles with addiction and the tragic loss of her son Benjamin to suicide. But according to the lawsuit, Navarone didn't take no for an answer. The complaint alleges he became enraged, berating and otherwise verbally abusing plaintiffs Kruse and Fialko on a daily basis, until Riley agreed to terms where Navarone could forego taking a drug test. If these allegations are true, they paint a picture of a family in crisis, of pressure tactics and demands for money, of addiction and dysfunction behind the closed doors of one of America's most famous families. The lawsuit claims that ultimately, Riley Keough agreed to pay Navarone a settlement of $2.7 million, allegedly to keep the peace and avoid further public battles that would tarnish the Presley name even more. $2.7 million to a half-uncle she barely knew, according to some reports, just to make the problem go away. And according to Kruse and Fialko, they're the ones who made that deal happen. They claim they successfully resolved all of the Presley family disputes in the wake of Lisa Marie's untimely passing. Every matter was settled, all parties were paid, and closure was achieved. So if everything was settled and everyone got their money, why are we here? Why are these explosive allegations about John Travolta, Riley Keough, alleged egg donations, and incest suddenly in court documents for the world to see? Here's where the plot thickens even more. According to Kruse and Fialko, after they successfully brokered these settlements and resolved all the family disputes, they were suddenly and unceremoniously fired. And not only were they fired, but they claim they were never paid for their work. And then, to add insult to injury, they allege that Priscilla Presley turned around and sued them. In August 2024, Priscilla filed a lawsuit against Brigitte Kruse and Kevin Fialko seeking $1 million in damages and alleging financial elder abuse. Priscilla's lawsuit paints a very different picture of events. According to her legal team, Kruse and Fialko took advantage of an elderly widow during a time of grief and confusion following her daughter's death. The lawsuit alleges fraud, breach of contract, and elder abuse, claiming that these business partners manipulated Priscilla, isolated her from trusted advisors, and essentially robbed her. Priscilla's attorney, Marty Singer, a powerhouse lawyer known for representing major celebrities, has called Kruse and Fialko's conduct unconscionable, and their subsequent lawsuits an attempt to bully and intimidate his client into silence. Singer has pointed out that Kruse and Fialko are now on their fourth set of attorneys, suggesting that even lawyers don't want to be associated with their claims. But Kruse and Fialko fire back with their own version of events. Through their attorney Jordan Matthews, they maintain that they're the victims here, that they worked in good faith to keep the Presley family together during an extremely difficult time, and that they were falsely accused only after they had completed all their work and it came time to pay them. Matthews has stated that his clients are heartbroken, that they've been forced to file their lawsuits, but that they're confident the truth will prevail and that the courts will not favor Priscilla simply because of her celebrity status. And this brings us back to the question, Why include all these salacious allegations about egg donations and incest in a lawsuit that's supposedly about business contracts and payment disputes? This is where legal strategy comes into play, and it's where things get really cynical and really ugly. From one perspective, you could argue that Kruse and Fialko are including these explosive allegations because they're relevant to their case. They're trying to demonstrate the extent of the work they did, the sensitive family secrets they were privy to, and the pressure they were under from various Presley family members, including Navarone Garcia, who they claim is now also suing them. They're arguing, in essence, look at everything we dealt with, look at all the secrets we kept, look at how we navigated this minefield, and now look at how we're being treated. From another perspective, and this is what Priscilla's legal team is arguing, these allegations are a scorched earth tactic. By including such outrageous claims, whether true or not, Kruse and Fialko may be attempting to pressure Priscilla into settling the case and paying them to make these stories go away. It's legal intimidation, Priscilla's lawyers argue, an attempt to embarrass and humiliate her family so badly that she'll be forced to write them a check just to stop the public bleeding. And here's the thing about celebrity lawsuits. Once allegations are made in court filings, they become public record. It doesn't matter if they're ever proven true. It doesn't matter if they're ever even tested in court. The mere act of filing these claims means they're out there forever, searchable, quotable, and part of the permanent record. Every article written about this case, including whatever content comes from this script, amplifies these allegations. John Travolta's name is now forever linked to these egg donation claims. Riley Keough will have to live with these suggestions about her being Benjamin Travolta's biological mother. Priscilla Presley has to see the word incest attached to her relationship with her son in news articles and court documents. This is the nuclear option in legal warfare, and it's exactly what's playing out right now in Los Angeles Superior Court. So what do we actually know for certain, and what's still allegation? Here are the established facts. Lisa Marie Presley died suddenly in January 2023. There was a dispute over her will and estate between Priscilla and Riley. That dispute was settled in June 2023, with Riley maintaining control of the estate and Priscilla receiving financial compensation and an advisory role. Brigitte Kruse and Kevin Fialko worked as business partners with Priscilla Presley at some point during or around this time period. Priscilla sued Kruse and Fialko in August 2024, alleging elder abuse and fraud. Kruse and Fialko countersued Priscilla and also sued Navarone Garcia, making numerous allegations about the Presley family's private affairs. Those are the facts. Everything else, the egg donation claims, the incest allegations, the details about drug use and settlements, are allegations made by parties in an active lawsuit. They have not been proven in court. Many have been vehemently denied. John Travolta's representatives have not commented on the egg donation allegations. Riley Keough's representatives have not confirmed or denied being Benjamin Travolta's biological mother. Priscilla Presley's attorney has called all of these claims shameful and outrageous, but notably has focused his response on characterizing them as improper litigation tactics, rather than specifically denying each allegation point by point. This is actually a common legal strategy, rather than dignify accusations with specific denials, which can sometimes give them more weight and keep the story alive. Attorneys will often dismiss entire claims as frivolous, defamatory, or irrelevant to the actual legal issues at hand. But for those of us watching from the outside, for the public that's fascinated by celebrity scandals and Hollywood secrets, these non-denials and general condemnations leave room for speculation. And speculation is exactly what's happening right now across social media, entertainment news sites, and in conversations everywhere. Let's talk about what this means if any of these allegations are true. If Riley Keough did indeed donate eggs that resulted in Benjamin Travolta's birth, then we're talking about a biological connection between the Travolta and Presley families that would be absolutely unprecedented in Hollywood history. Benjamin would be John Travolta's son legally and biologically, but he would also biologically be Riley Keough's son, making Riley his biological mother, even though Kelly Preston carried and birthed him. Under the law, Kelly Preston would still be considered Benjamin's legal mother because she's the one who gave birth to him. But biologically, genetically, half of his DNA would come from Riley. This would make Benjamin the biological great-grandson of Elvis Presley. Elvis's genetic line, which continues through Riley and her siblings, would extend to this teenage boy being raised in the Travolta household. The implications are staggering. Think about identity, about family, about what this kind of information could mean for a teenager if he didn't know it, or if he's finding out about it through tabloid headlines and YouTube videos like this one. Assuming these allegations were somehow true, did Benjamin know? Did Kelly Preston know before she died? Does Ella Blue Travolta, Benjamin's older sister, know? How would this information affect family dynamics, inheritance rights, and personal identity? These aren't just gossipy questions. These are profound human questions about parenthood, about what makes someone your child, about medical history and genetic heritage, and all the complex ethical issues that surround assisted reproduction, surrogacy, and egg donation. And all of this is now playing out in public because of a business dispute between Priscilla Presley and her former associates. Let's also consider the timing and motivation behind Michael Lockwood allegedly sharing this information with Kruse and Fialko. According to the lawsuit, Lockwood, Lisa Marie's ex-husband and father of her twin daughters, is the one who supposedly told Kruse about the egg donation arrangement. The lawsuit alleges that Lockwood was incessant about pushing this information and wanted Kruse to use it to force a settlement that would benefit him and his daughters. The lawsuit claims Lockwood described himself as being so financially desperate he was eating dog food and urged Kruse to weaponize the alleged Travolta family secret. It also alleges Lockwood claimed Travolta needed to help salvage his career amid claims of sexual assault against other men, and that this secret could threaten Travolta's status as a leading man. This reference to sexual assault allegations against Travolta is pointing to past accusations and lawsuits that Travolta has faced over the years from masseurs and other men claiming sexual misconduct. These allegations, which Travolta has consistently denied and which have never been proven in court, have nonetheless been a recurring source of tabloid speculation about Travolta's personal life and sexuality. If Lockwood truly believed he had information that could damage Travolta's career and reputation, then according to this lawsuit, he was allegedly trying to use it as leverage for financial gain. That's essentially blackmail, and if true, it paints everyone involved in a very dark light. But again, these are allegations made in a lawsuit by parties with a financial interest in portraying themselves as whistleblowers rather than as disgruntled business partners. Now let's address the elephant in the room: the incest allegations regarding Priscilla and Navarone. These are perhaps the most disturbing claims in the entire lawsuit, and they're also the vaguest. The lawsuit states that Priscilla's love for Navarone was, and always has been, incestuous, but it doesn't provide specific details about what this means. Is this referring to physical incest, actual sexual abuse? Or is this using incestuous in a more metaphorical sense, describing an unhealthy, enmeshed, emotionally inappropriate relationship where boundaries between mother and son were blurred, particularly around money? The lawsuit does detail financial enmeshment, claiming Priscilla funneled money from her trust to fund Navarone's lifestyle and drug addiction. This would be an example of financial codependency, enabling behavior that certainly could be described as unhealthy and inappropriate, but is very different from physical incest. Without more specific allegations or evidence, we're left to speculate about what exactly Kruse and Fialko mean by their use of the word incestuous. And this vagueness might be intentional. By using such a loaded, shocking term without specifics, the lawsuit generates maximum outrage and headlines without making specific factual claims that could be more easily proven false or defamatory. It's a devastating word that conjures the worst possible images, and once it's out there in a legal document, it can never be fully retracted. Priscilla Presley, a woman who has spent decades in the public eye, who's managed the Elvis Presley legacy, who's appeared in movies and television, who's been a cultural icon since the 1960s, now has to see this word associated with her name. The damage, regardless of truth, is incalculable. And this brings us to the broader question about this entire legal saga. What's the truth? Who do we believe? On one hand, we have Priscilla Presley, represented by one of Hollywood's most aggressive attorneys, claiming she was taken advantage of by unscrupulous business partners during her time of grief. On the other hand, we have Kruse and Fialko claiming they're owed money for work they performed in good faith, and that they're being smeared to avoid payment. Both sides have financial motivations. Both sides have reasons to paint themselves as victims. And both sides are willing to air incredibly dirty laundry to win their case. The truth is likely somewhere in the middle, more complicated than either side wants to admit. It's possible that Kruse and Fialko did perform valuable work for the Presley family and are owed compensation, and that they're also now overreaching with sensational allegations as leverage. It's possible that Priscilla did work with these business partners voluntarily and now regrets some decisions made during a difficult time, and that she's also right that they overstepped and took advantage. What's undeniable is that the Presley family has been through unimaginable tragedy. Elvis died when Lisa Marie was just 9 years old. Priscilla raised her daughter alone while managing her ex-husband's massive estate. Lisa Marie struggled with addiction, went through multiple divorces, and lost her son Benjamin to suicide. Then Lisa Marie herself died suddenly, leaving her mother and her surviving children in shock. The family was thrown into immediate legal turmoil over the estate before they'd even had time to properly grieve. In the midst of all this pain, there were also millions of dollars at stake, business interests, legacies to protect, and yes, people looking to take advantage or claim their piece of the pie. This is the reality of celebrity death and inheritance. It's messy, it's painful, and it brings out the worst in people who smell money or opportunity. As for John Travolta and his family, they've also endured unthinkable loss. Losing a child, as they did when Jet died in 2009, is a tragedy no parent should have to face. Then losing Kelly Preston in 2020 meant that Travolta became a single father to 2 children, one of whom was only 10 years old. Travolta has been private about his grief, sharing occasional tributes to his late wife and son on social media, but largely keeping his family out of the spotlight. And now these allegations have thrust him and his youngest son Benjamin back into tabloid headlines in the most invasive possible way. If the egg donation allegations are false, then Travolta and Riley Keough are victims of malicious lies that have now been permanently attached to their names. If the allegations are true, then a private family arrangement that was meant to remain secret has been exposed in the cruelest possible way, potentially causing harm to a teenage boy who never asked to be part of this story. Riley Keough, for her part, has been nothing but gracious and measured in dealing with the public aspects of her family's troubles. After her mother Lisa Marie's death, Riley gave thoughtful interviews about grief, about continuing her mother's and grandfather's legacies, and about her determination to protect Graceland and the Presley heritage for future generations. She completed her mother's memoir, which was published in 2024, reading her mother's words in the audiobook version in a deeply moving tribute. She's an accomplished actress in her own right, with critically acclaimed performances in films and television shows. She's built her own life and career separate from the Presley name, while still honoring her family history. And now she's been dragged into this lawsuit with allegations about her most private medical decisions and family planning. It's a violation of privacy that's hard to even comprehend, all played out on the public stage for entertainment. So where does this all go from here? The lawsuits are ongoing. Priscilla's case against Kruse and Fialko alleging elder abuse will proceed through the courts. Kruse and Fialko's countersuits and their case against Navarone Garcia will also proceed. Discovery will happen, meaning both sides will be able to demand documents, depositions, and evidence from each other. If this case actually goes to trial rather than being settled out of court, we may see witnesses testify under oath. We may see the evidence that allegedly supports or refutes these explosive claims. Or, more likely, this will be settled quietly with non-disclosure agreements, ensuring that the full truth never comes out and everyone walks away bitter but silent. That's how most celebrity lawsuits end. Not with a bang, but with a confidential settlement and a joint statement that says nothing. But the damage has already been done. The allegations are out there, the headlines have been written, the videos have been made. Public perception has been shaped, and no amount of settlements or retractions can fully undo that. This is the reality of modern celebrity scandal. The accusation is the punishment, regardless of whether it's ever proven true. And in this case, we're not just talking about financial disagreements or business disputes. We're talking about allegations that strike at the heart of family, identity, parenthood, and some of the most intimate decisions people can make. We're talking about the legacy of Elvis Presley, one of the most iconic figures in American cultural history, being invoked in a lawsuit about money and business contracts. We're talking about real people, real families, and real pain being turned into content, into entertainment, into gossip. And look, let's be honest about what we're all doing here, including me making this video and you watching it. We're participating in this circus. We're fascinated by the downfall of the mighty, by the secrets of the famous, by the idea that behind the glamour and the red carpets and the movie premieres, these people are just as messy and dysfunctional as anyone else. Maybe more so because the stakes are higher, the money is bigger, and the pressure to maintain appearances is crushing. There's something deeply human about wanting to peek behind the curtain, to know the real story, to feel like we're getting access to information that was meant to stay hidden. And the entertainment industrial complex feeds this appetite with an endless stream of content about celebrity scandals, relationship drama, family feuds, and courtroom battles. But it's worth pausing to remember that these are real people whose lives are being picked apart. Benjamin Travolta is a real teenager who may be reading these headlines about himself. Riley Keough is a real person who has to see herself discussed in terms of alleged egg donations and biological motherhood. Priscilla Presley is a real woman in her 80s who's buried her ex-husband, her grandson, and her only daughter, and who now has to defend herself against allegations that attack her character in the most fundamental ways. Navarone Garcia, whatever his flaws or actions may have been, is a real person seeing his alleged drug addiction and his relationship with his mother dissected in court documents. These aren't characters in a movie. They're human beings with feelings, reputations, and families who are affected by everything being said about them. At the same time, there are legitimate questions of public interest here. If powerful people are manipulating estates and taking advantage of the elderly, that matters. If there are patterns of financial abuse or exploitation in how celebrity estates are managed, that's worth examining. If non-disclosure agreements and settlements are being used to silence legitimate complaints and hide wrongdoing, the public has a right to know. The challenge is separating the sensational allegations designed for maximum shock value from the substantive claims that deserve serious scrutiny. And that's incredibly difficult when everything is tangled together in these sprawling lawsuits where business disputes, family drama, and personal secrets all collide. What we can say with certainty is that this case reveals the dark underbelly of celebrity life and death. When someone famous dies, their estate doesn't just involve dividing up money and property. It involves controlling legacies, managing brand value, deciding who gets to speak for the dead, and navigating family dynamics that are amplified by wealth and public attention. The Presley estate in particular has always been complicated because Elvis died so young, leaving behind massive debts that Priscilla had to work for years to resolve. She turned Graceland into a profitable tourist attraction, managed Elvis's image rights and music catalog, and built a business empire from her ex-husband's legacy. When Lisa Marie inherited this estate and then lost large portions of it through bad business deals and her own financial struggles, it created tensions that were never fully resolved before her death. And now we see the aftermath. Family members fighting over money, business partners claiming their owed payment, accusations flying in all directions, and the most private family information being weaponized in court. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when enormous wealth meets family dysfunction meets public celebrity. It's also a reminder that the rich and famous, for all their privilege and advantages, are not immune to the same family conflicts, grief, addiction, and betrayal that affect everyone. If anything, their problems are magnified because everything happens on a bigger stage with more money at stake and more people watching. The John Travolta angle in all of this is particularly fascinating because it connects two completely different Hollywood dynasties. Travolta is from a different generation and a different world than the Presleys. He's the disco king from Saturday Night Fever, the greaser from Grease, the hitman from Pulp Fiction. He's Scientology royalty, having been one of the church's most famous members for decades. The idea that he and his family might have this hidden biological connection to Elvis Presley through a secret egg donation arrangement is the kind of Hollywood twist that seems too wild to be real. And maybe it isn't real. Maybe it's completely fabricated, or based on a misunderstanding or a story that got twisted through multiple retellings until it bore no resemblance to the truth. But the fact that it's even being alleged, that it's in court documents with supposed evidence like photographs and notes, means we have to take it seriously enough to examine it. And in examining it, we see how vulnerable even the most famous people are to having their private lives exposed. We see how lawsuits can be used not just to resolve disputes, but to embarrass, intimidate, and pressure opponents into settlements. We see how the legal system, which is supposed to be about finding truth and justice, can become a battlefield where reputation is the weapon and privacy is the casualty. As this case moves forward, we'll likely see more revelations, more accusations, and more denials. Attorneys on both sides will continue to file motions, make statements to the press, and try to control the narrative. Priscilla's team will paint Kruse and Fialko as con artists and extortionists. Kruse and Fialko's team will paint Priscilla as a controlling matriarch trying to avoid payment for services rendered. Both sides will claim they're the real victims. And the truth, whatever it is, will remain elusive, probably forever. Because in cases like this, absolute truth rarely emerges. What we get instead are competing narratives, partial facts, and a court decision that resolves the legal question of who owes what to whom, but never fully answers the deeper questions about what really happened and why. For those of us watching from the outside, this story is a reminder to be skeptical of sensational claims, even when they come from legal documents. It's a reminder that there are always multiple sides to every story, and that celebrities and public figures are often caught up in disputes where everyone has an agenda and no one is completely innocent or completely guilty. It's also a reminder of the incredible pain that the Presley family has endured over multiple generations, from Elvis's death to Lisa Marie's struggles to Benjamin Keough's suicide to Lisa Marie's sudden death, and now this ugly legal aftermath. Whatever happens in these lawsuits, the Presley family's tragedy continues, played out in public for the world to watch, comment on, and consume as entertainment. And as for John Travolta, Riley Keough, and young Benjamin Travolta, they're all caught up in this story whether they want to be or not. The allegations have been made, the damage has been done, and now they have to live with this cloud of speculation hanging over them until and unless the truth is definitively established. In a perfect world, if the allegations are false, there would be clear consequences for making them. If they're true, there would be accountability for those who violated privacy and broke trust. But we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world where celebrity gossip is big business, where lawsuits are public relations battles as much as legal disputes, and where the line between legitimate journalism and tabloid sensationalism gets blurrier every day. This is the Hollywood that exists behind the glamour, messy, complicated, full of pain and greed and secrets that sometimes stay buried and sometimes explode into public view in the most spectacular ways. Whether you believe these allegations or not, whether you sympathize with Priscilla or with Kruse and Fialko, whether you think this is all an elaborate shakedown or a legitimate case of whistleblowing, one thing is certain. This story has everything that makes a great scandal. It has famous names, shocking allegations, family dysfunction, mysterious deaths, questions about parenthood and identity, and most importantly, it's real. These are real legal documents, real court cases, and real people whose lives are being forever changed by what's being said about them in these filings. As we wait to see how this all resolves, if it ever fully does, we're left with more questions than answers. What's the real story behind Benjamin Travolta's birth? What was the nature of Priscilla's relationship with her son Navarone? Were Kruse and Fialko saviors of the Presley family during a time of crisis, or were they opportunists who took advantage? Did Michael Lockwood really try to blackmail the Travoltas? And perhaps most importantly, how much of what's alleged in these lawsuits is actually true versus strategic legal posturing designed to apply maximum pressure? We may never know the answers to these questions, but we'll keep watching, keep speculating, and keep consuming these stories because that's what we do in a culture obsessed with celebrity, scandal, and the secret lives of the rich and famous. What we've just walked through is one of the most explosive celebrity legal battles in recent memory, a case that combines family tragedy, business betrayal, Hollywood secrets, and allegations so shocking that they seem to defy belief. Whether you're Team Priscilla or Team Kruse and Fialko, whether you believe the egg donation claims or think they're complete fabrication, you have to admit this story is absolutely wild. It's the kind of scandal that reminds us that truth is often stranger than fiction, and that the real stories happening in courtrooms across America are sometimes more dramatic than anything Hollywood could script. So what do you think? Are these allegations credible, or are they a desperate attempt by former business partners to pressure a celebrity into settling? Let everyone know in the comments, and stay tuned because as this legal battle continues, there's sure to be even more shocking revelations to come.